This is Elden Ring, and these are some of the most famous people who have ever played the game. And today, we're trying all of the builds, from Elon Musk to Kai Cenat, from PewDiePie to Dr. Disrespect, against one of the hardest bosses in the game, Millennia, Blade of Miquella. Now, before we begin, let me explain how this is going to work. Basically, I make the build as close as possible to the original. I fight Millennia 5 times with the build. If I beat her, I simply roll back the save. However many times I beat her, say 2 out of 5, is the score for the build. If I don't beat her at all, well, there's a different measurement system for that. Now, if there's a close call, I'm counting it as a win. And the reason is I'm not that good at Elden Ring, and I think someone with literally a tiny amount more experience of this boss could have beaten her under those circumstances. I will be using a max level character for this, so we can fully customize everything, and so that we can see what the peak of each build is. But I did roll back my character with Elden Save Manager to level 150, and the results were basically exactly the same, so it's not going to affect the veracity of the results. Let's begin with Elon. Elon is the most famous person on this list. The others are popular on our favorite sites, but Daddy Elon has the wait shit I got the wrong weapon out build. Obviously, this is a meme build he posted, but I decided to try it out anyway, and then modify it to try and make Millennia beatable with it, which it doesn't go to plan. There are a few modifications I made, but we'll go over those in a second. For clothing, we got the Radahn set, because motherfucker doesn't have drip in real life. And the Twin Sage helmet is to personify the schizophrenic Tesla pricing whenever he tweets. We got a good set of talismans. I just switch it to these, because you're using all magic weapons and no talismans that buff the actual attack of your build, and the health medallion is just useless. Get Vigor to 60. Then we've got no damn healing. Like, none. Are you suicidal? We've got 3 mediocre ass Spirit Ashes, Alcoholism, and the Spicicle for some reason. This is undoubtedly the worst build on this list, and on the planet. I mean, heavy roll, 2 shields. I couldn't beat Millennia with this build. I just couldn't. So this is what I changed it to. Lusat Staff is fine, but then I just got rid of the other sword. Got rid of the shields because blocking is overrated. Got rid of the health because health is overrated. Completely revamped the talismans, kept the helmet and added the healing, and FP flasks back. What the fuck was going through your head? Then made my spirit summon the Mimic and the Black Blade Tish, because either one is actually fine for this fight. We're also going to be putting those in our pouch, not our quick access. I also unequip the Moonveil and the Uchigatana before the fight, and only have Terra Magica and Comet Azure as spells. Then spawn the Mimic in. Equip the Moonveil and Uchigatana again, and my Mimic Comet Azures her while I kill her with the Moonveil. And this is a slightly better build. Now again, these were my first few attempts of the day, so I wasn't operating at peak. To add to this build, and actually all of the builds, I'm using freezing pots in all of these builds. And the reason for this is due to the fact that it can ratio her waterfall dance. It's hard to pull off, but it can. And it makes it so I don't have to learn that part of the fight. Very epic. I still died to waterfowl like 17 times though. Seeing as this build was unusable at first, and the fact that I think he was just memeing when he posted this, I give the original build a 1 of 10. No, it's not good enough for that. I give it a 0 out of 10. For the remade and reconfigured build, I didn't win with it, but I think that's mostly due to me not being warmed up, and anyone with slightly more experience of this boss could easily roll with this build. So I'm still going to give the remade build a 4 out of 10. It would be a 6 out of 10, but because I didn't beat her, I'm taking 2 points off. Next we have Jacksepticeye's build. He actually technically has 2 for this fight, but for the first one we're going with the spiky sticks. And these things are just disgusting. What an absolute machine of a build. The Lion's Claw is just straight cancer. It just is. But what I did is I changed the second one from heavy to bleed, just so I can I just realized how that sentence was going to sound out loud, just so I can destroy her a lot easier. It doubles the bleed of one of them, and you know we're going for bleed grease on this as well, just to make it even more cancer. The heavy Lion Claw opening is disgusting though, and she just can't fight back against both of us spamming these weapons. You can just spam it constantly, and constantly stance breaker. This fight took me less than 2 minutes from setup to win, after I could understand the fighting style of this weapon. Here's a live reaction and my thoughts at the end. Monkey brain. It's just monkey brain. Monkey. We're monkeys here. After all 5 attempts, I beat her twice with a couple of close calls, so it's realistically a 4 out of 5, but I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 just because the first 2 were me warming up to this fighting style, and it's just slightly more calculated than the Rivers of Blood, so it's a 5 out of 5. Very fun build. Now we have this earlier build, and it's also cancer. It's a pre-nerf Rivers of Blood. I decided that I'd do 5 more attempts with this, and we got similar scoring as with Kai Cenat. Mind you, we're on New Game Plus, so this is a higher health, more damage version of Millennia. And now, it was time for Jack's Swedish brother PewDiePie. PewDiePie did in fact play the game at one point, but as far as I could see, he never went on to beat Millennia, at least not in the official playlist. We're using the build at the end of his playthrough because he used the Angel Wings for a very long time, but then switched off to the Blasphemous Blade for the last fight. I think it's logical to assume he would have continued with it if he went on to beat Millennia. Obviously, we got the Mimic tier, a staple of this video so far. We got armor of our choosing. Now, it's not a bad build. I'm taking some liberties with the talismans again, just because they're not optimized and my ADHD TikTok brain likes when the pretty numbers line up. This build is also from the first build of the game, so today this plays very differently to how it did back then. The Millennia fight was a challenge with this weapon and a Mimic tier. It's a good weapon. The constant fire damage means you can just back up from her and let the sword do its thing, but Millennia likes being close. This Ash of War is not optimal for her because the Ash of War basically hits in a long straight line instead of hitting in either a radius, like something like Morgoth's sword, or something like the Rivers of Blood. Look, the Mimic tier is a little special, okay, but he does really help in this fight. This build is good. The sword in my memory has never been nerfed, but even if it has, its current state is pretty good for this fight. Even though this isn't a complete demolisher of a build, I think with enough experience of it and just enough tries, anyone can beat her with it. I've never used it before for any other boss, neither have I used most of these weapons except the Rivers of Blood, but not on Millennia. And the last time I beat her before this video, I used the Murai Executioner sword. There are a lot of good weapons in this game. I think the best weapons are Colossals for this fight. Our next build is Kai Cenat's Elden Ring build, and this one isn't just a meme build, this one's kinda insane. So from the footage I found browsing around, I saw a clip that was taken from the live stream where he beat Millennia. So not only do we have a build, but a build that was used specifically for Millennia. He uses a Nagakiba and a Rivers of Blood, at least from what I can see. Now I'ma just guess the levels for these weapons at max due to the fact that he'd already been to the Farum Azula at this point, and most people don't do Millennia before Farum Azula their first time through. For this fight, I decided to add an arbitrary set of talismans. I did notice he had the white mask helmet though, that you get for killing Vara as a bloody finger in Mogwin Palace, so I got that. And then I went in naked. This fight went really smoothly. You can't go wrong with a double katana build, and the single best bleed weapon in the game. This is the build, of course, it's not exact. There is over 100 hours of stream footage to go through, and every second of it to find the exact build he used when he won in that one clip I found would just be insane. So here's my version of the build, taking some liberties on some of the talismans. If you're beating Millennia before you actually fight her and you don't have the Rotwing talisman, the best way to get that is to complete Millicent's questline, which is completable before beating her. All of these talismans you can get before fighting her by simply getting to the Farum Azula and then getting to the Howling Tree. This build was insanely effective, especially with freezing pots. In fact, I never had to use them. This build just steamrolled Millennia. Most of these YouTubers also did use a Mimic tier, so I decided that I'd just stick to using that Spirit Ash as it's the most popular in the community. And also, get ratioed, I'm gonna do it anyway. I was able to beat her 3 out of 5 times completely with Kai Cenat's build, with one close call and one time where I got cocky and overconfident. So I give this build a 5 of 5 or 100% effective. This is a fucking crazy build. Our final one is one that I planned on doing before the controversy, but decided against adding into this video. It's 𝗖𝗿𝘆𝗽𝗍𝗍𝗍, and we won't be doing that. Also, he's basically just using PewDiePie's build, so there's nothing I could have added to it differently. Tell me down below what other famous builds that you'd like to see in maybe a part 2, and subscribe for a feat reveal at 100k, and also watch this next. It's an entertaining video.